Greetings, everyone. I'm Jeff Rhodes with Crossroads Consulting, where we help businesses with their outsourcing needs. We help them with their growth expectations. We help them reduce costs, and we help them protect their assets. Our business model takes us from starting a company all the way to the exit strategy and all points in between. We bring to the table a lot of resources. One of the resources that we're bringing to the table today is a good friend of mine, Paul Daigle. Paul has done a lot in the world of technology. He started companies, he's run companies, he's helped companies grow. But what I would like to do, Paul, is have you talk more about your background, and let's talk about the world of technology and what goes into starting a company, running a company, raising money, and all of that good stuff. So welcome aboard.
Thank you very much, Jeffrey.
Yeah, let's start with your background. How did you get into this technology stuff?
Well, technology stuff, I was one of the fortunate kids back in the day where my first language was French and my second language was English. And it was in first grade, and I had to do first grade for a second time because English was my second language. And then that brings me to they put me in front of a computer at the time to learn English.
Oh,
and so I use a dial-up modem and I put it on the cradle, and whatever was in front of me at the time communicated with something else, and it helped me learn a little bit of English on the computer. And so as I went through school, I did punch cards, and in high school, in college, I ended up being the student assistant for the dean of computer science. I was the student representative for IBM, and I started up the computer labs, the PC computer labs for the students and faculty of Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. When I graduated, a few months before I graduated, I was doing contracts for companies like Blockbuster and Florida Power and Light, where Blockbuster, everybody knows that, Be Kind and Rewind. But Florida Power and Light was built an ERP system to keep necessary parts and pieces inside vehicles when they go and repair any type of electrical disturbance. And just the software just made sure, check this off before you leave the compound and to make sure you have all the right parts and pieces for your day. That's how I started. I started off in programming, and back in the day, my life was I'd work 3 days a week and go boating 4 days a week. And then one day I pulled up to a boat in the marina that was a lot bigger than mine. I go, boy, what can I do to have that? And so I go, okay, now I got to work. Now I got to bring on an assistant for me. And then I went from just making software to providing hardware along with the software. And I was at the time a value-added reseller. But throughout my career, I made ERP systems, CRM systems, PSA systems for the MSP market. For automation of computer maintenance, internet provider monitor that would determine if internet was good and operational at a customer site, and if it wasn't, it would warn me and let me know what's going on, so I can contact the carriers to have them fix the problem, whether the carrier might be down or no internet and the phone or and stuff like that. And so, even up to today, it's I have a MSP business evaluator and accelerator that an MSP can spend 15 seconds and put in 4 parameters about their organization. It'll tell them how much they're worth on the recurring revenue side and on the EBITDA side. And then the accelerator portion will give them, what they need to do to accelerate through the business maturity model from $0 up to $100 million.
So those who may not,
for a long time. Go ahead.
Yeah, those who may not be familiar with MSP. Me hanging around with you as long as I have, I know that that's managed service providers. But tell us a little bit about the work that you've done with businesses, startup businesses yourself, what you've done to develop a startup technology company, and kind of the work that you've done with startup tech companies. And obviously we'll continue along this path and get more into the MSP side of it.
Yeah, it's a lot of times, I was doing stuff in business that just made sense, and I did not know it was called, like mergers and acquisitions.
Yeah.
And always looking at the financials, going, as if when I started hiring techs with my first company, I get the techs really busy at about 80% capacity, and once they got up to about 90, 95, or 110% capacity, they were working too much. I didn't want to burn them out. And frankly, for every hour that they spent billing, I made money on it, and I paid them by the hour. And so, it's just taking that money and kind of bootstrapping, as you get money in and you start investing money in other things that will help you grow and scale your organization. And a lot of times when you're running a technology company, back in the day, you needed people to go and service computers on site. You needed vehicles and stuff. And whenever you can do it without getting a loan, the better you are. But sometimes you're working your people, but you just need to find good people. And it's amazing on when you really have the need, things tend to pop up that will satisfy that need from all different places.
Yeah.
I hired a secretary to help give me more time in order to do more planning, and I didn't have they did the billing, and so I was able to set policies and procedures for technicians to go on site, and for technicians to repair stuff in the shop and to do telephone support, and that's really what made us grow really quick, is developing the policies and procedures that all of our customers got the same level of service from us in the same way, where it wasn't so dependent on a technician, on the relationship with the technician, but every time they
Yeah.
dealt with that computer company, the delivery and everything else was always the same. And we tweak it. So if we tweak on how we want to engage with the customer a little bit better, what we did for that particular customer, we do it for all the other customers, and keep on tweaking and listening to our customers on the way that they want to be communicated with. As time went along, we just had customers that just wanted to text a message. We had customers that just want to pick up the phone and call. And then we had customers that wanted to just go online, put in a trouble ticket, or just send an email. And that's a lot of modes of communication.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like,
You've obviously started and run your own businesses, but you also consult with a lot of startup technology companies. I think the first question that really comes to my mind, and I've heard this from venture capitalists on quite a few occasions, they will partner with a tech guru, somebody who's really good in technology, really good in programming, etc., but they're not very good at running a business. So what was some of the, I guess, come to Jesus moments that you had? You're a tech guy, and now you have to run a business. You have to hire people. You have to do all of this stuff. Give us some insight into that, and some thoughts on how you work with businesses that are tech dominated, but they come up short on the business application side of it.
yeah, those are the guys, those mad inventors, I call them. Those are the guys that come out and that identify white space in other software packages and go, if this software package can do this, it'd be so much better. if I can get this, that, and the other, my product, I can duplicate what they have and put in what I have, and it'd be just so much better. But the thing is it's amazing how many of those ideas end up going by the wayside. They either going by the wayside, or the best thing for that to happen is for them to contact that manufacturer that they identify the white space for, and go, I have the programming code to be able to, so now in your platform you could do these things that you didn't do before. Number one, number two, and number three. And then, manufacturers are always looking for things to help improve their products.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, to help improve their products and dominate the industry. Microsoft on a regular basis buys their competition, or buys other companies and adopts that technology within theirs. But that's the holy grail that, you don't normally get that if you're just one or two people. You normally, Microsoft will let that business stew until they earn some revenue, maybe, $5, $10, $20 million, until they've proven out to the market that, their stuff is better, and they might be, well, no one's going to hurt the bottom line of Microsoft, but, you kind of get the idea, go, hey, that's a good product. It's been proven. A lot of people are using it. Let's go ahead and buy that product and incorporate it into ours.
Yeah, there's stories all over the place where somebody came up with a good idea, but somebody else looked at it and said, hey, you know what? I can do this a lot better. And let me create a program that will actually do better than this original software. I'm going to start my own business, compete with them. You see that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we see that in the payroll platforms and the financial software platforms all the time. What is it like to start a technology company that's based on a software application? Number one, you got to have some protection if you can. How do you see that? How do you work that?
Protecting the intellectual property of something that young and that and stuff, it's not a reality necessarily. Maybe you need to protect the intellectual property once you're doing quite a few $1 million in revenue. But initially starting off, because even though you might have a good idea, a lot of these guys that have these good ideas, as they're developing, they should start doing research out to find out, who our competition is. They a lot of times their focus will just be on one of the competitions, but they got to take a look at the entire scope and all the other people that are in direct competition with them, and make sure that they did find white space, in that their extra value will make them a differentiator when they go out to market.
So that's interesting, because if you find the white space and you don't have the financial resources to go through the patent process, or it's not patentable, then it becomes more about speed to market, because the longer it takes you to get to market, the more people find out about your program, and then they alter it. And if they have the ability to go to market faster, you're kind of missing out then.
Yeah, but you're talking about an IT guy that's a developer that doesn't typically understand that. That IT guy, don't send me emails, don't send me hate mail or anything else. But the IT guy, a lot of times, feels like they're the smartest guy in the room.
Okay.
And the thing is they need to surround themselves with other people that have different business expertise.
Okay.
Like operations, like marketing, like legal, like a CPA. You're not going to hire a lot of these people internally. They might be fractional as you need them, like the CPA might do the books at the end of the year, or might do your quarterlies for employees. But you hire these people, but you need someone internal to help you that's been a go-to-market strategist in the past, and not just your friend that just took a marketing class in college. You know, the more you can align yourself with really smart people that have been there and done that, not only are you going to get to market faster, but you use their credentials. So when you do, or if you do need money to go to market or to develop an MVP or a minimum viable product, which is a software package that will show investors, what you're looking to do and why they should invest in you. You take a look at, you got the developer. You might have all the credentials in the world, but you need a team behind you. If they had a CFO and they had a marketing guy on the same team, and that these people all specialize from bootstrap companies rather than out of college being hired at mid-level at IBM. The problems that they have are quite a bit different from the problems that a startup bootstrap company has. And
Right.
You want people with that expertise. And so what happens is the same type of companies that have that good IT guy, that CEO, and then someone that will come in and help on the marketing side in finding out whether their product has legs out in the market, and then they can price it right, which is another big deal to that CFO. And so, and where a lot of people make the mistake is that it will cost them $100 for development if they sell 100 of these products, but they don't roll that into the cost, and so they'll sell it for $150 and think that they're making money, and they have to continue on with the research and development. And so typically with software as a service, the average rate of return on what they should do is 80%. So basically, if they charge $100, it should only cost them $20 to make it and sell it and everything else. And the rest of the $80 is all profit. That's why these SaaS companies, software as a service companies, are very, very profitable if they're set up and done right.
Yeah, that's kind of the messaging we've been getting from venture capitalists, investment bankers, is even lenders. Get set up right from the beginning. Mm-hmm. Take care of the financials. Look at things on an accrual accounting basis. Get things in place. But obviously, a lot of startup techs bootstrap, and the friends and family money sometimes doesn't last very long, and it doesn't serve the purpose of getting them to a point of revenue. And that's really where the rubber meets the road. Is you got to get this thing into a revenue producing element as quickly as possible, and within your budget constraints as well.
Yeah. And the venture capital people have staff and have people on the ready to come help these companies. But the venture capital company is going to end up grabbing more of the company than typically the owner wants to let go. But the owner has to realize that this venture capital people are bringing in these fractional marketing people, fractional CFO, fractional CMO, and stuff like that. And that's a lot of value. And they want a return on that. And I don't blame them. Whereas the capital people don't want to invest in a company that's not already in revenue. And so you got the venture capital people come up and they take 51+% of the company, depending on the amount of work that they need to put in to get this thing out to market. And then, eventually those guys, buy them out, redo the cap table and everything else, and bring them up into private equity. And then the next step is bring them public. But, very few companies go public, and there's many different reasons to do it, many reasons not to do it. And so, and the same thing with VC, if you get those developers, they're introverts. And they might be really good at doing stuff, but you need some extroverts. You can have the best thing next to sliced bread, but if you don't let anybody know about it, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. So if you had a startup company right now that has a pretty good idea, what are some of the steps that you would advise them to do or help them take to get to revenue generation as quickly as possible?
Well, do you want me to use something I'm starting up, or do you want me, or something I advise somebody
You know
else?
what? If either way, whether you're
Okay.
consulting with a startup or you're starting your own company,
Yeah.
I'm sure
Well,
there's some difference.
let me do a consulting, because
Yeah.
I got way too much leverage on doing it myself. But and I don't do it myself. I build the team before I put out a product. I put out the team and the marketing. I get strategic relationships with people throughout the U.S. and abroad on that would benefit from using my products and my tools, and reselling them, and it would make their product better, stronger, and stuff like that. But the way I advise a company, and Jeff, I see more people with ideas but are not developers. But that's the premise that you want to set. If I can change that premise a little bit, people have a great idea, but they need to hire a developer in order to put their thoughts into something that's going to happen. And that has a lot better chance of succeeding, in my opinion,
Oh, that's interesting.
by a few percentage points.
Yeah.
And so, it's a lot of times what happens is CEO will have the idea. He knows a particular market real well and identifies the white space in the market.
So you
Versus,
don't have to be a programmer. That's
no,
a
not at all.
misconception.
Not at all. A lot of times, the second person they hire or they get introduced to is a chief technology officer. And the thing is the guy with the idea normally has to give away roughly 50% of his idea to the developer, because together they make a small team, but they make a team. And at that point, they put together an application that's a minimal viable product. It's an MVP, and that will give investors or anybody with capital an idea on the application and what it will do in the market it's good for. And then once you're there, then it's kind of off to the races. The people, you might be able to get capital at that point from, an SBA. Friends and family would be more apt to invest into an idea if the delivery vehicle, if the software was already produced, but not fully produced, but at least they get the idea. We all learn by, seeing good ideas and everything else. And having a software product that you can demo goes a very, very long way.
Yeah, and the trouble with starting a company now is trying to find out how much money you're actually going to need. Oftentimes, venture capitalists say, "Well, you're coming to the table, you're wanting $50,000, but that isn't going to get the job done." Or you're asking for $500,000 or $1 million. Well, you're too young. I don't see the value right now to contribute $1 million. You're
Yeah,
asking for too much. So that's
yeah.
an inexact science.
Jeffrey, it's not that you're not too young. It's that, okay, if I give you, let's do this simple. It's if you got, say you got two kids at home and you go off on vacation, you and your wife, and you leave them $100, and you go, for a week, and they got to go grocery shopping for $100. What are you going to spend that $100 on? Are you going to spend it on candy the first day we're away? Or are you going to spend, $10 a day, $5 a person, and go get food for the week, and it's going to last? It's being responsible with the money. But now when it comes to business, they ask for $500,000. Well, how are you going to spend that money? Okay, your business licenses, your internet. Are you going to be paying yourself a wage? Development cost, just all the different costs that are necessary in operational of business, registering the business to be in your state, and, doing the sales tax, doing the employee taxes. It's just, all the expenses that you need to have that you have while running a business. How are you going to spend that money? And the thing is I had someone that just came up with 4 or 5 points on, I'm going to be spending my money on rent. I'm going to be paying myself a salary of $150,000 a year, which won't run. Electricity, utilities, taxes, it just the whole bit. And I go, an investor wants to give you money because he wants to feel that it's going to fuel. He wants to add fire. He wants to add fuel to the fire, that you got something going on and got something going on well. How much money are you going to be spending on marketing, and how are you going to be doing your marketing, and who are you going to be doing that marketing to? And then is that the best use of the money? So you call that a prospectus in business. And
Yep.
it lines up with all your expenses. And then basically for the first 3 months, this is how much money I'm going to, or you go month by month for an entire year. And expenses are going to increase from month to month as you go on. An investor is going to want to go, okay, I want to give you a runway. I want to give you 3 years of monies, or a year of monies. What does that entail? And then once you spend all that money, what's your ability to start paying it back?
Yeah, they don't want to see wasteful spending. They want to see the money going to things that are really going to drive you closer to revenue. From what I've gathered, they don't want to see big wages unless it's a programmer or some really key hire that's critical to the development. But they really hone in on let's put this money to its best use. What are some of the things that you've found with raising capital that are don't do this, because investors are going to slam the door on you? What are some of the things that you've run across?
Well, there's no one thing, and you brought up one. If you're looking, I see this a lot where it's a company that's been trying to get going for about 2 years, 3 years, and they got 3 executives, and basically each one of them wants to be paid $200,000 a year, and they're looking for $3 million of revenue. Well, that's a big chunk. That's about 50% of what the investor's going to be putting in there. That could be done, but I need a return on investment. I need to be getting some sort of return. I want to get a piece of the business as an investor, because I want to have skin in the game, and I want to have say. Not you got my money, but and that's where investors really, that's where business people really need to be careful on the investors that they take in. One of the biggest issues I find is that they're opening up a Series A, and they want to get $3 million funded, but they got 40 people as limited partners that are investing into them.
Yeah.
Or let's just say 7. And I go, do you have to hire someone special just to manage those investors? Because they're going to be calling you, giving you ideas, but there's different ways to make investors. So I'm just going to take your money, and you don't have any say, and stuff like that. But when you're just starting off, you want to get smart money. You want to get smart investors.
Good point.
Like from if you're starting up a widget, and you want to find someone that's invested in widgets and that has grown widgets and everything else, similar to a family office type of thing. And they're buying something to add to their existing family office portfolio, like manufacturing. They're buying another manufacturing firm that will produce a widget in a little bit different ways, but it'll add to their portfolio and what they can sell to their clients. And so, it's you need people that have been there, done that as a smart money. That's where the friends and family, that money tends to get wasted, because friends and family might not talk the way they need to, or most of the time don't have the experience of running and bootstrapping a company and running forward.
Yeah, from my perspective, there's a lot of software ideas. There's a lot of software ideas trying to come to market. venture capitalists will invest in certain types of software, but they won't invest in other types of software. Uh,
Because they
what
know
is,
what they know. They know what they know, and they don't want to invest in something that's a little even obscure. Because when you're selecting someone that knows what they know, it's amazing how fast you'll be able to grow.
Yeah, I've gotten to know some guys who actually become friends of mine down in Naples Technology Ventures. I'm sure they won't mind my mentioning of their name, but they've done some pretty cool things in technology. A lot of their preference is B2B.
Yes.
Sometimes B2C, but in their case, they drive heavily on the B2B side, but they really look into the applicability and the viability of that software product and how quickly they can get it to market.
Because it's proof of concept. As soon as you get someone to buy into it, it's proof of concept. It's like bringing on another C-level person onto your organization. It's just more proof that more people believe and are investing their time and their resources in order to help that owner bring their product to market.
Yeah, and that proof of concept in the software uh, sector, that's where that white space comes into play, right? And so describe that white space and how you can capitalize on that quickly, because it just seems to be you got to have a moat, some kind of a moat around your software idea, and then get it to market quickly here.
Yeah, well, let me take an example where we're all familiar with CloudStrike. They do
Yeah.
cybersecurity
Yeah.
tools and stuff. And I have an inventor, a crazy inventor that has identified white space within their tools. That if they filled in that white space, their product would be better. And so
Okay.
basically, I had that inventor take a look at CloudStrike and write up a paper, 1 page, write up what the issues are with the CloudStrike and how his software, if they licensed it, would fill in those gaps. And the nice thing about it is CloudStrike would be inclined to buy that software rather than developing themselves, because now they know they have white space, but it might take them a year and a half to develop it, where they can just buy it and incorporate it and be done in about 3-4 weeks. So now going out to market real faster, stuff that you alluded to earlier. And now, this guy is going and taking a look at other vendors like CloudStrike, like Palo Alto, like Cisco, like Checkpoint, Symantec,
Wow.
Microsoft, and going and identifying white spaces in which he has routines and he has software developed to fill in those white spaces. So basically, it's kind of like going, it's Jeff, you're driving your car on 3 wheels. Do you want the fourth?
It would make the ride a little
There's
smoother.
probably
Yeah.
something better than that, but it's like going in the cybersecurity
So
stuff moves so fast.
you bring up a good point, because oftentimes money can come from a strategic entity rather than friends and family or an investor, because a strategic like CrowdStrike, they know what your software can do. It's quicker for them to buy it from you, maybe give you a piece of the action. Obviously, you better have an NDA signed first.
Yeah. You take care of all the legal stuff, but then you go to your friends and family, raise money for that legal stuff, because you go, hey, I got this big cyber company that's really taking a good look at me and stuff like that. And the big companies, they're not all bad, but you do want to have some paperwork that somewhat protect you.
Some of them
But
are pretty aggressive, though.
if that big company wanted to swamp you, they know you're already small. And do you know how much it costs in court in money, only money, in order to protect your intellectual property in software? It's $250,000. And a
Yeah.
lot of times that's more than their net worth.
You know,
And that's
I
just to
was,
get started.
yeah, I was actually a couple years ago involved in a startup technology company. I was helping them raise some money, and they were approaching some big time grocers. Let me just throw out Kroger as one of them. They were approaching a group that size, and I watched them for a year and a half. We talked about all kinds of things, cap tables, and all of that stuff. To this day, and this is just my opinion, I think their technology was swiped and they were left out in the cold. And that technology is showing up now in grocery stores and markets. So how do you share your idea with a big guy, a big fish? Because I'm sure that's happened to you before.
Yes, it has. I wanted to say that, but it's almost this type of thing here. It's like you go and you do work for somebody, and they don't pay you. And say you do $1,000 of work for someone, and you want to bring them to small claims,
Yeah,
and it's going to cost you $500-600 to do that, plus your time and effort. Go, oh well,
yeah,
it's just let it go. But these big guys, you got these software developers and the people with the ideas. They can invest 2-3 years of their time that they're never going to get back. It could be swiped from them, and they have no way of defending themselves in court, even if they do have the paperwork.
right,
It's
right.
it's it's
So
it's $250,000 just to get started to protect your intellectual property, and the attorney that you had do it with the friends and family money, most likely is a family attorney, and that doesn't have enough intellectual property
yeah,
protection in there that a billion-dollar company has.
yeah. So you're based in the Orlando area. We know that's a hotbed now for technology, and it has been for quite a while. Are you seeing this becoming more and more of a challenge in developing software, coming out with a piece of software that fills a white space? I know it's getting harder and harder to get venture capital money. I had lunch with a prominent venture capitalist a couple of weeks ago, and that was one of his big concerns is the money. But let me ask you this again, though: is it harder to protect your software uh, program that fills a white space now? And what how do you keep the sharks away from the boat?
You start off with non-disclosure that has teeth in it. That means if they mess up, you're not slapping them on the wrist. There's a financial teeth in there that'll do it. That will scare away some people. But people for the most part, they're good. A lot of people ask me to do NDAs, and very little of our business is done here in the state of Florida. 95% of our business is done throughout the states.
Mhm.
And so, we take a look at a whole bunch of stuff, and it's in order to talk about a software product when we're helping people go to market or raise capital. If you make us sign an NDA, there's going to be stuff that we're going to talk about anyways, and stuff we're not going to talk about because we have a vested interest. We're not going to, let the, we're going to instruct the company to, don't spill the secret sauce. Keep the secret
Yeah.
sauce. We don't even want to know the secret sauce, but tell us what we can say in order
All right.
to attract capital. And capital, there's plenty of money out there. Venture capital, family offices, private equity, they all have a season. They raise money in a fund, and then they go buy companies and fill up that fund. And then once they're done there, they go do it again for a different industry and stuff like that. So it's, there's very few organizations that just specialize in just one industry with all their funds.
So you can help companies. You can help companies do all of this stuff with the. You can help them with the NDA. You can help them with capital raise. You can help them get the marketing in place. You're not just a tech guy
We know
anymore.
we do some of that, but the
All right.
legal stuff we refer out to legal.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
the
No. Of
NDA,
course.
but
Yeah.
we help gear them. We help gear them through the process, and we do that a lot. We have packages. We got to go out and get capital package, where it includes a pitch deck for investors, and includes a sales pitch deck, includes IRS forms, and includes just about like 40 or 50 different documents, including a picture of your ID, of your driver's license. And so a lot of times for capital, we take all that stuff in a package, and then we send it to the capital people that will give it to their internal people to evaluate the risk, to see if they're gonna fund and put money towards the project. The underwriters is what I was trying to say.
Right. So
And so we
that's
put everything together. So instead of taking the 90 days, 120 days, and so forth, in order to get stuff done, to get capital, 30, 45 days, a lot of times is all that needed, and some even faster than that.
So the message that we want to deliver today is how you work with startup companies. You're not just a tech guy. You're a guy who can actually help them build a business.
Yeah, we can help them build their team. And we can consult them on building their team, and even find people to fill in those spots in those teams. Whether they need help finding someone internally, like a chief marketing officer or fractional chief marketing officer, or whether they need an attorney, or whether they need a CPA that knows their industry and is familiar with people in that industry, in that revenue range that they specialize in. So in other words, an attorney that specializes in companies, in healthcare companies, like doing health gyms, say, that do less than $100,000 in revenue, might not be the same attorney as you want if you're doing $20 million in revenue.
Yeah.
It's a different attorney. It's a different CPA. It's a different level of even executive people within your organization.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I see a lot of value. Knowing you as long as I have, that's where I see a lot of value in what you do for startup technology companies. It's not just about software; it's about technology in general. But your ability to look at a startup tech company and say, "Look, from a business perspective, this is some of the things you need to do," because oftentimes they go in different directions. Trying to attract employees is difficult these days, especially for startups. But do you really need to hire people? Is it better to outsource? And if you're going to hire people, you better have benefits in place. You better have some other perks in place that's going to attract them from maybe a larger organization.
Yeah, and there's a lot of perks that organizations can put into place, backed by insurance policies and stuff like that. That if you stay with us for so long, you're going to get an annuity that's going to pay you, $20,000 a month for the rest of your life and stuff like that. So there's a whole bunch of different stuff that you can get, a whole bunch of insurance packages, stuff that you can get to attract good, strong people. But a lot of times you don't get into that until you're really generating revenue and you're really trying to attract the cream of the crop, the best people out there, and putting together a financial plan that makes sense for them to live on now and something they can cash in on later.
Yeah, I think you can come to the table bringing some expertise on building a financial plan, projecting future costs, projecting future revenues, because that's really hard. The addressable market. The addressable market is another area that seems to be an inexact science. You'll go to these Shark Tank presentations, you'll say, "Oh, we got a $1 trillion addressable market." Well, you really don't.
And they want 1/2 of 1% of it. They have no clue. They're just grasping out there. I chuckle at them whenever I go see anything like that. I go,
So you
totally
help them
frustrating.
put together the financial projections. You help them with a pitch deck, which I think is a really important document, because sometimes pitch decks can be too long, too convoluted. They can get too far into the weeds, and people, by the time they get through the third page, their eyes are glassed over. So the pitch deck is really important. Maybe give us some pointers on the pitch decks that you like to see.
Well, funny, because we run pitch events for organizations that are going out there and trying to get capital, because we want all the people that they want us to help them get capital, whether it's $1 million or 20 or 40 or 80. Go, this is what we want to hear, and this is how we need to hear it. And we got a pitch event where got slides. We tell you what should be on each slide, and they should be no more than 10 slides. Because a pitch event is just to get the idea, and just to go, hey, is it a good idea or not a good idea? If it's not a good idea, it just goes away. If it's a good idea, what we do is we assign a group of 2 people to go and do some follow-up. The team gets together and we come up with a list of things that we want to find out. And then we send out a team of 2 to talk to the people that are looking for capital. Go, okay, this is where we need some clarification here, here, and here. And then with that information, then we're able to go out and pitch all types of investors throughout the U.S. and throughout the world.
Yeah, and oftentimes you hear investors say, "Well, send me your one pager."
Yeah,
they love to look at that one pager, but that one pager's got to be impactful. They don't. They
it does. Yeah, and it needs to have some stuff on there. If it's too busy, too cluttery, not going to work. It has to be simple, fast, to the point, that someone that knows that industry. I'm not looking. A lot of people want to attract. They put together a pitch deck. They want everybody from every industry to come take a look at it and understand it right away. That's non-strategic. You want strategic money. You want the money to come from someone that can help you grow your business. So a one pager from someone that knows the business is no problem. Like Jeffrey, if I was to go to you and go, I want to invest in this PR firm, and I got a one pager, you'd be able to take a look at that stuff and go, oh yeah, bang, bang, I understand. This has some credence. Now, if I bring you something from a plumber, here's a one pager from a plumber, and go, well, I'm not too sure about that. And the probability of you saying no is probably pretty high. And you should say no, because you're doing the people that are looking for the money, they might be blinded by the green, by the money. And that's a big problem.
Yeah, well, the VCs, like private equity guys, they look at hundreds and hundreds of one pagers or pitch decks in the course of the year, and they only select a few to invest in. So your pitch deck or your one pager, or you go to these Shark Tank events, they got to be dialed in. So I'm thinking somebody with a good idea should look to hiring a firm like yours or hiring you, because you're going to get them off to the right start here.
And we're only going to accept those clients that we have immediate expertise in. We're not going to go learn a whole new industry. We don't need to. There's plenty in our industry. And the thing is I know people like us that specialize in different industries, like your venture capital, like your private equity. You got people that specialize in those industries. It's like right now we're working on. Let me just say, just go on. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah. But no, the point is, you can, if you've got a good idea, or you're a programmer, you can spin your wheels on trying to build out your idea from a business perspective, or you can hire somebody like yourself, because again, you got a great idea, but you got to get it to market. You got to get it to market quickly, because there isn't enough moat around your idea that's going to provide you with the protection that you're going to need. So getting to market quickly and getting it done right, to me, that's where the value of somebody like yourself and your firm comes into play.
Yeah, no, very much so. And they take a look at our track record and what we've done. And, very, very proud of that. But again, we specialize in an industry, and we only have so much bandwidth here. We got the 3 senior members, and then a staff of others. But our time is limited because we're really busy doing what we're doing, and we get people to market fast. Because going at it slow doesn't do anybody any good, and
No,
everybody loses
no.
interest. You gotta have some wins.
Yeah.
When we bring on a client, we need to have a good win in the first 2 to 3 weeks, and then again in another 2 to 3 weeks, another in 2 to 3 weeks, and then the momentum really builds. I took a project from Intel Corporation, IoT product that was gunshot detection, and that was an industry that we were familiar with 4 or 5 of the sub industries, but not in that whole gunshot detection stuff. But it took us about 2 months to actually put things together. In the 3rd month, I was invited to the national show to be a speaker at the national show in Vegas on what we did, how we did it, and how we went to market, and the number of installs and clients that we had. Beautiful.
Hey, I'm going to have to wrap some things up. We could go on, and we'll have a follow-up interview. But what I want to mention is we're going to have contact information. If people want to get in touch with you, they can go to the link below. They can contact us.
Okay.
They can go to the comment section, ask questions, and we'll get things answered and get contact information so that they can reach out to you. As we wrap up, this is kind of the stuff that Crossroads Consulting is all about. We bring experts to the table that will help businesses achieve the financial objectives that they want. Look, starting a business is all about creating wealth. But listen, Paul, I really enjoy talking with you. Every time I talk with you, I gain additional knowledge and some cool ideas. But I do think that there's so much more that we can talk about, and having a follow-up interview makes all the sense in the world, because we just touched on something very, very basic, the startup side, and there's just so much more to do that. If you're okay with that, we'll schedule another interview with you, and
No problem.
and go from there.
Mm-hmm.
All righty. Thank you very much for joining us today. I'm Jeff Rhodes with Crossroads Consulting, and tune in for further XR insights as we move along. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your day. Once again, we are Crossroads Consulting. I'm Jeff, he's Billy. We're available to talk to you about any issues that come up with regards to your business. Our business model is to help you find solutions. There's no cost, there's no obligation to talk to us. You've seen some of the interviews that we've done. We have a lot of resources that we can bring to the table. We welcome you the opportunity to talk to you about your business and some of the challenges that you're facing now. We'll do our best to find the solutions. Again, there's no cost, no obligation.